Hello everyone, my name's Graham. This is my assistant, Richard Parker. Thanks for joining us today. Hopefully we're going to have some fun making some simple magnifiers and microscopes using household items and a drop of water. I'm going to be displaying a list of materials next. That will be up for a few minutes, so you can gather your supplies. I'll also be talking through all of the items while they're displayed, and then we'll get to our first project, which will be making a magnifier out of a paper clip. For these projects, we're going to be using a water drop as a lens. The magnifying effect of a water drop has been known for a long time and gave us the first views into the microscopic world before microscopes with glass lenses were produced in the 17th century. For your supplies, you're going to need some paper clips, needle or round nose pliers, water dropper or pipette. If you don't have either of those, you can use a toothpick or the tip of a pen or a pencil to help build up your water drop. A cup of water, some paper towels, a pen light or small flashlight, preferably one that you can turn on without having to hold the button in. Small block of styrofoam or wood, about an inch or two thick, masking tape, a thick book. It doesn't need to be big, just something with a lot of pages. And then for later, a smartphone. If you have any questions or run into any problems, please post them in the comments below and I'll try to help you out. Here's the setup. I'm going to zoom in on everything. Excuse the noisy zoom. So we've got our round nose pliers, paper clip, a water dropper, and a cup of water, paper towel handy, and zoom back out. This is our setup. I've got the finished loop taped to a block of styrofoam. I've got the specimen stuck between the pages of the book and the pen light for illumination. Now let's get that loop bent. Okay, so we've got our paper clip. I'm gonna bend this straight. I like leaving the last loop. That gives you a little handle if you do want to go around, look at things without having it taped to the block. And take your pliers. Remember, we're shooting for a loop that's about 2 or 3 millimeters in diameter. So I'm going to start about there. See if I can zoom in. So, whoop. So I've got it so the wire is just even with the jaws. And then bend the wire around, back towards. Get this positioned here. I don't have it quite. Okay. So I'm bending back to the end. I'll slide that off. Okay, I'm going to have some stills later, but you want the loop flat. You want the end, and that's pretty good there. Coming in even. With the wire coming in. Okay. Let me just get this in. Okay, so now you can grab it where the end is, get it back to there, and just bend that in tight. Okay, you can go inside, grab that, roll it in a little bit. It's a little more teardrop shaped. It takes practice to get these right. Let me get my other loop here. So that one's a little bit bigger. It's a little bit on the big side. So go ahead and make your loop. You got another end here to use if this one doesn't come out. Alright, this is passable. My first one was like that. You'll probably see some images of that coming in. Alright, so we're going to switch back and look at some stuff. Here's a close-up of the finished loop. Notice how the end of the wire is joining in with the rest of the wire evenly. It's not sitting above or below it. In the next shot, I've got the loop positioned over the specimen and adjusted so it's as parallel or flat to the surface of the specimen as possible. If you have any front to back or right to left dip in the loop, you'll want to bend that out gently. The rounder the loop and the flatter you have it, the less image distortion you'll have. I'll give you a few minutes to get that straightened out so it's nice and flat, and then we'll load up the drop and look at some stuff. I got my water and dropper handy, so what we're going to do is take the dropper and we're going to just put a tiny drop of water on there. Now see, that's bulging through the bottom quite a bit. Like I said, this loop is a little big, so I'm going to blot that out. And we'll try that again. Okay, that's much better. Now if you don't have a dropper handy or a pipette, what you can do, zoom out. You can dip your loop into the water. That's going to give you That will fill the loop partly. Then you're going to dip your pencil in the water, get a good bead formed on there. And add water like that. And that's a nice bead right there. Okay, let's get our specimens set up. I've got a prepared slide here, a plastic ruler. You can use a piece of cardstock or a thin piece of plastic to put your specimen in. You're going to want to put it in the book starting just below where your drop sits. And then once you've got it in, you can position your loop over what you want to look at, and then looking directly through the drop. You can check your focus. If it's not in focus, you can adjust by moving your specimen up or down in the book, a few pages at a time until you get it right. Also, take your light source. You can put it above or below your subject to get the best illumination. Now, the book makes a great stage for a couple reasons. First, it's nearly infinitely adjustable. And second, it's repeatable. So once you have your specimen on there, you've got the focus just right, you can record the page numbers. That way, if you want to look at it later, you just need to look up those numbers, put it back between those pages, and you're ready to go. There's another way you can focus. Once you have your focus close, you can press down or relax pressure on the book, and that will give you some fine focus control. Now, if this were a real microscope or a telescope with fine focus controls, you pay tens or maybe hundreds of dollars for that feature. With a book, they're included at no additional cost. One other thing, eventually you're going to bump your drop against the specimen. That happens, just use your paper towel, blot off the specimen, and refresh your drop if necessary. You can take a few moments and play around with your magnifier, and while you're doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about them. Specifically, why 2 to 3 millimeters? The smaller the lens, the higher the magnification it yields. So if you've ever looked at the objective lenses of a compound microscope, you know those lenses are tiny. But the images they make are tiny too, so that's why they're coupled with the eyepieces to help enlarge those images so we can see them. Now, like I mentioned before, ours is just a regular magnifier, so we don't have any benefit of eyepieces other than our own eyes. So that 2 to 3 millimeter size is a compromise between getting some useful magnification, which looks to be about 2 power, maybe a little bit better with our paperclip magnifiers, and an image size that we can actually see. You can set that aside, grab your smartphones, and we're going to fix that problem. For this project, we're going to be mixing water and smartphones. Generally not advised, but we'll be doing it in a controlled fashion. However, there are a couple things you need to check for before proceeding. First, make sure you have permission to use the phone if it's not yours. And second, check around the front-facing camera to make sure there are no openings like those for the microphone or speakers. Now we've got the phone in place of the paperclip magnifier. I'm going to zoom in here and we'll put the drop on. Now you want to make sure your phone is clean. And take your pipette, and you just want a drop big enough to cover the lens on the camera. Now if the water doesn't want to bead up, but spreads out on your phone, you can take a toothpick and a little bit of petroleum jelly, make a ring around the lens, and then add your water drop. The jelly will hold it in and give you that nice round bead. I turn on my light, and I've got the camera on. We're gonna turn on our front-facing camera and slide in our specimen. You can tell already we're getting some good magnification. Same procedure for adjusting your specimen to get focus, except this time you're working from underneath. This compression technique works really good to let you know which way you need to go. This looks pretty good, or raising it up a few pages would get that in focus. Here's a screenshot of the ruler I've been using. Your phone camera is taking that magnified image from the Waterdrop and displaying it on the screen much enlarged. Those are millimeter divisions. I measured the distance between two marks on the screen of my phone, center to center, and got 10 millimeters. So that's a 10 power increase just with the default camera settings. You'll notice that your images are reversed. If you have mirror image function, or you can do a series of horizontal and vertical flips to correct the image on your phone or computer, just like that. Well, I hope you've been able to see some cool things with your homemade magnifier and microscope. For the remaining time, I'm going to put up some pictures of stuff I scrounged up around the house that I took with my smartphone microscope. Thanks for joining me, and explore, experiment, and have fun.